What's going on, guys? So I'm starting this YouTube page up to kind of talk about weekly wrestling, kind of get people's thoughts, see where everyone's feeling, what's going on with the different products, what's going on with different wrestlers and their in a whole, all kinds of stuff. I want to do episode by episode basis on the episodes that we're talking about. Like this one, I plan on talking about AEW because it's gonna be in the description, talking about Fyter Fest Night 1 um, and where everything goes. I don't know where this page is going to go. I'm hoping that we can get some traction and we can get a lot of insight and we can get a lot of opinions and we can just go from there. I would love to use this platform for good. There's so much hating on the internet nowadays. So it's just something that I've been wanting to do for quite a while. Before I talk about AEW, though, this week, which I think was a really, really good episode. For some issues that they have, the injuries that really do kill them, they do such a great job at picking up where others may drop the ball. For instance, Bryan Danielson's hurt, Kenny Omega's hurt, CM Punk is hurt. So, it's time to step in, have the other people step in, make something of themselves. And I think that that's something that AEW does really, really good. So I'm really impressed by that overall as a product, especially from someone that really hasn't been in the wrestling industry that long. I mean, you got to think about it. Tony Khan's never had anything to do with wrestling. Now, granted, he's been part of other organizations. None of them has had to do with wrestlers, which is a completely different mindset you got to have. I mean, it kind of is the carny business, like they like to joke around about, but it's almost serious. So anyway, the first thing I wanted to talk about was I just read today. It just got leaked that starting next week, I want to say it's July 18th, WWE Monday Night Raw will be changing its TV rating to TV 14 instead of TV PG. Now, some people are really not making a big deal of this, but I really think that this is something that's important, especially if it's a consistent thing and not just a one episode or moving forward. That's what we're doing. I really think that that's a great thing because if you look as an overall, if you look at wrestling, it's best when there's no limitations or very little limitations. I mean, you can't do porn, but very little limitations. And I think that that is really something that WWE has been lacking on over the years, especially with the PG behind them. They're very limited on what they can do. Now, granted, they got sponsors still. They still got the USA Network they got to get things approved from. It don't matter at the end of the day because the minute you change to TV 14, you are giving yourself a whole nother outlet. And I think that that is really, really good. So we'll see where that goes. And if you look at the highest ratings-wise, they got the most ratings when they were TV 14. So for the people saying that this don't matter, this absolutely matters. So I just want everyone to understand that this is something that I look forward to seeing in the future to see how it goes from there. So moving on, we're going to talk about Fyter Fest Night 1. I can't wait for Fyter Fest Night 2 next week. The Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho match is probably something that I'm really looking forward to. I've loved this whole feud from start to finish. I love how Eddie's finally getting his shine. He deserves it. This is something that is long overdue. I don't care what anyone says. Eddie Kingston's my guy. I would love for him to win the AEW World title one day. His story is just crazy. He is the everyday person. He kind of is the people's champ if you think about it. Whether he wants to be that or not, he is a regular person. So I'm really looking forward to that, and we'll go from there. So the first thing that I wanted to discuss was the Wardlow match defending the TNT title. I thought that that was really interesting right off the bat to book him and Orange Cassidy because they're both really, really popular right now. They're both really big draws. They're both people that the fans love. They're one of the reasons that I go to the shows. I like both of them. And Wardlow just becoming TNT champion, you kind of can't take the title from him already. He just won. The people wanted him to win. So for Orange Cassidy to take it, I really didn't think that was going to happen anyway. But I thought it was going to be a really good match. And it was. Wardlow's pretty much been doing squash matches for pretty much his whole run, except maybe the CM Punk match. But this match was very back and forth. Orange Cassidy took him to a limit, and you could tell just by the way that Wardlow tried to finish the match. You could tell that it was like Wardlow was almost reaching a limit to him where he needed to finish, or Orange Cassidy would have eventually got the win over him. I really liked how they played the comedy factor into it while keeping Wardlow this big monster of a champion, or of a person, because he's a big guy. Like Wardlow, and to me, in my eyes, he is a future star of AEW. Like, this guy can be on posters, he can be on merchandise. People will cheer for him. He kind of gives me Batista vibes back from when Batista just left Evolution. So I think that that's something that I look forward to in the future. As for the results, again, I'm a huge Orange Cassidy fan. I love Orange Cassidy, but it just wasn't his time compared to Wardlow. And at the end of the day, Wardlow has to have a really good run, because I think after this is done, maybe this will elevate him to the AEW World title, or more advanced wrestlers like the Kenny Omegas, like an actual match with CM Punk, like the Moxleys. And so that's something that I look forward to in the future. Speaking on Jon Moxley, the match he had with Konosuke Takeshita, I'm butchering the name. See, the thing is, I didn't really follow DDT Pro like that. I follow Ring of Honor, New Japan, Impact, GCW, the Indies. So it's just I run out of time. I can't follow every single company. So I didn't know much about this guy going into it. I've seen a couple matches he did with AEW, but that was really it. I was really impressed for him. Like, I really can't say too much about him as a wrestler, but I was really impressed. Anytime they show blood is great. I'm one of those hardcore, old school people. Like, I grew up in the Attitude Era where you would see blood all the time. So I do enjoy seeing some red. I'm not going to lie. It made both guys look really strong. It made Moxley look like the champion that he is. Don't get me started on the interim championship compared to AEW title. It made Moxley look like the champion, because he is the guy that's there weekly, defending it, fighting for it, doing anything he can to make sure that he don't lose it. So that is something that was really good. The fact that Takeshita really pushed him was another great thing. That's the thing I really like about AEW too, is, they're not squash matches. These matches, they go in and they give their all. And it's just really, really good to see. Moving on, let's talk about Jericho and Eddie Kingston. So the thing is, like I said before going on my rant about night one, I'm a huge Eddie Kingston fan. So I was there when he beat Chris Jericho in that one-on-one match, and that was just glorious. So this whole feud, I feel like it's gone really long. So I'm really hoping that this will be the final match between them two, like Chris Jericho said. And we'll just see how it goes. Like I said, Chris Jericho got a nice long promo in the ring. Eddie Kingston, again, he got 30 seconds backstage. I really think that that's their way of trying to downplay him, so later on he can really make that rise as the guy. I really hope that's how it is. I hope he's not just, given that time just because they don't think that he is worth it, because he's definitely worth it. He's one of the stars of AEW. And, when you look at matches like Blood and Guts, Anarchy in the Arena, their one-on-one matches, he's really proved himself. For somebody that was just supposed to come in and be almost, you could say developmental talent for Cody Rhodes when he was defending his TNT title, he's come such a long way, because you got to remember, he wasn't signed with AEW. It ain't like AEW handpicked him. No, he just did a phenomenal job in that match, and he was offered a contract because he deserved it. And there was a lot of people that fought Cody Rhodes, so you can't say that every single person that fought Cody Rhodes got a contract because that's just not the case. Look at what's his name, Warhorse, I think that's his name. So that's just not true. That's just not true. So Eddie Kingston deserves it, and I really hope that he does go over in this match. Moving forward, it can catapult him to the next level. Maybe he can get into it with Claudio when Bryan Danielson comes back, if he comes back, because of these supposed concussions he's having. Again, he can get into feuds with him. These are people that he has issues with already, so it just makes sense. It just makes sense. So why have him lose to Chris Jericho just to fight these people? You know, where's the incentive in that? So the next thing I wanted to really discuss was the Serenade and Anna Jay match, and really the women's division as a whole. Like, I like women's wrestling. I think that Impact Wrestling has the best. They express it the best way. AEW, for some reason, it just doesn't connect with me, the women's division. It's never been one of those things that I gotta watch Dynamite, I gotta watch Rampage, all the dark elevations, because they don't really put that care that they should be putting into the women's division. And I don't know what it is. It's, they get time, but again, I think what really helps, because I'm also a storyline person, is you don't really give these girls that much storylines, which is where, in my opinion, and if I'm going to compare, Impact just completely blows it out of the park. And they just destroy it and do such a phenomenal job with their quality of storylines, especially with the women's division, and how that does get treated like it's an actual important part of the roster. I could watch a whole show of Impact, just women, and be happy. But I can't say the same for AEW. And it ain't the females. It really isn't, because they're really good. Like, I was really impressed by Anna Jay in this match. Like, I think this is the first match where I actually was like, wow, like, she's gotten really good compared to what she was. Because before, I even think JR put it together. A few months back, she wouldn't have been able to do the moves she was doing consecutively in the rhythm she was going. So she has progressed so much, which is kind of crazy too, because they don't get a lot of time in the ring. It don't feel like. Serena Deeb she's in a whole nother monster. She's a great wrestler. I don't really, the thing is, again, the personalities. I gotta see the personalities, and I don't really see a lot of personality in Serena Deeb. She's really just a wrestler's wrestler. Like, she'll wrestle to hurt you, but I don't really know much about her. So it's really still hard to invest into her as the character when you don't know much about her. Like, whereas Anna Jay, she's with the Dark Order. She's got this history with them, with Brody, with all these people, the come up. She's been there since the beginning. So, to me, like, that's kind of one of those things where it is what it is. Like I said, I hope eventually the product will get better with the women's division. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So the next thing that I did want to talk about, and this hurts me. This really hurts me, because they started so good with Hook. They did great with Hook. And it really feels like he has fallen to the wayside. He doesn't do anything. And by having these interviewers just interview him, and him not saying anything or looking awkward and walking away, like, I mean, let's just be honest. He looks like this teenager that can't handle the pressure. And I don't know if that's what they're going for, but I don't like that at all. I think that is a very poor way to represent Hook, especially the way that the fans picked up on him. So if the fans are behind you, then you really need to just go and, bite the bullet. Make it so he is the, not the guy. You don't want to make him like the champion yet, of course, but you want him to have a dominant role in the roster. I really hope that's what they're going with eventually. Side note, I did see that Taz has lost a lot of weight. He's looking great right now. So that would be kind of cool to see a father and son tag match, maybe, even if it's just one time. Give me them versus the Bucks, and I'll take that any day of the week. So that was my rant on Hook. I really hope things get better. I love Hook. I'm a big fan. Him, Danhausen, I think they have something. They could be a team at some point if, Tony don't want to put Hook in the singles division right now because he's still so young and he does a lot of long-term story planning. So maybe put him with Danhausen for a little bit. Let them form a team because Danhausen can go. He really hasn't done a lot with the company just yet, but he has it. I mean, I've seen his Ring of Honor matches and they're really good. So that's just like I said, that's my rant on Hook. And I just hope things get better with him. The last thing that I wanted to talk about was the main event. And it was really, oh my God, it was a really good match. The false finishes, the way the Young Bucks always do what they do. They always put on these 5-star classic matches. Keith Lee jumping off the air. Again, somebody his size should not be able to do that. So it's really cool to see Keith Lee jump in, almost like a luchador. But the guy, he's over 300 pounds. So that's really cool to see. Plus he's the power behind him. Ricky Starks, you got his cocky attitude with Powerhouse Hobbs, who has just done such an amazing job getting himself in shape and getting better and progressing over his time in AEW. And, of course, Swerve Strickland, who just got there. Again, I'm not really sold on Swerve. I wasn't big on him in NXT. I wasn't too huge on him in the Indies. So I'm not really a huge fan of this pairing of Keith Lee and Swerve. Especially when you got guys in the match that have been there for a really long time. Like I said, Ricky Starks, been there a hot minute. Hobbs, I think he showed up once Dark started because he used to be an Elevation, person that just worked with the actual wrestlers, and then he got a contract after, I want to say, if I remember it correctly. But he's been there for a long time too. We're talking almost 2 years plus, and he's gotten himself in amazing shape. And so it's like he cares about the product and wants to better himself. So I think that it's kind of unfair that Lee and Swerve win the championship really right when showing up to the company. And I'm not one of those people that says, WWE guys, get everything in the beginning, because I think that's absolutely ludicrous. You do have other champions. Look at Thunder Rosa. Look at the Young Bucks just now, that just before they lost the championships. Look at Hangman. Look at Omega. Like, there have been champions that, Wardlow. So it's not like I believe that, but I do think that it is unfair that you have people that have put in the work. Hobbs and Ricky really, really did deserve that match. If you're going to give them, and give a new champion, it should have been them. It shouldn't have been Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. I just don't agree with that. Now, I'm not saying that they're not good. They're both really, really good athletes. I'm a big Keith Lee fan. Swerve, again, I like him, but I'm not, he's just not one of my favorites. And that's just an opinion I have of him. The Young Bucks, they're my favorite tag team of all time. So I'm one of those people that I am a diehard Young Buck fan. So I was cheering for them in the match. But if you're going to, like I said, if you're going to take the titles off them, I would have much rather somebody that deserves it, like Hobbs and Ricky, because, like I said, they've been there for a while. The match itself was really good. So I'm not taking anything away from that match. I'm wanting to see where this leads from now. We'll see where we go from here. And I'm excited for next week, Fyter Fest 2. I don't know how long their title run's going to be. I kind of feel like if you were going to compare title runs, I think that they're going to have maybe a mid-length title run. They're not going to lose it right away, but they're not going to go a year with the championship. Maybe I give it 4 months, 3-4 month title run, and then they drop the championships. Maybe it all out, leading to the match between Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, which it's leading towards, you can tell, but just depends when are we getting this. So that was my review of AEW Fyter Fest Night 1. I want to keep doing these at least weekly. I'm going to do multiple for each show. Like I said, this was just AEW for this one. I'm going to do Raws. I'm going to do Impacts. I'm trying to get caught up on the New Japan, but it's such a lengthy process. Plus the G1 is starting, so it's going to that might get a little hectic. But one thing's for sure, I can definitely say that AEW and Impact and the big ones are going to be part of my weekly reviews. And I really hope you guys subscribe, like, comment, share this to your friends if you're a wrestling fan. And I appreciate it. And until next time.